further in. So welcome everyone. This is our regular monthly DOE WAP Trainers Consortium call. I hope you all had an amazing Memorial Day weekend. And thanks for joining us. I know a lot of people are out today. And Juliana, thank you for that note. I will have you say that out loud. So for our main event today, we have Catherine Court from the PNNL to talk to us about low-E storm windows, which I think could be a really cool opportunity for us in WAP. But before we get to that, we'll have our regular network updates. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you. It's so quiet. Everyone's being so good about background noise and keeping themselves muted. It made me nervous for a second there. So for our updates, let's do Jonathan and Andrea from NASCAS couldn't be here, so I'll cover the NASCAS updates when I go. So let's do Anna from IREC, and then we'll do Juliana from NREL. And then Amy, if you feel like you have anything that kind of fits in this from CAP, you can go ahead. And if not, BPI doesn't have any updates this month, so I'll go last, and then I'll hand it over to you, Catherine. So Anna, take it away.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Just a quick update from IREC. Actually, a few updates. We're seeing a lot of activity in the credentialing program. New applications for training provider accreditation and instructor certification. If you are considering applying this year, please let us know, because we've got a nice full docket and we want to make sure that we have staff to support you through that process. Just a couple of announcements. IREC is hiring. We are recruiting 2 positions currently. One is a director of finance. A lot of the skill sets overlap with those who have managed fiscal departments for weatherization and other federally funded programs. So if you know of anyone in your networks who would be interested in supporting IREC's mission on that side, please email us. I'm going to put the email in the chat. The announcement is going out via social and other IREC channels, I think tomorrow, but just giving this network a heads up. Also, our credentialing program is recruiting for new assessors to assist with reviewing accreditation applications. This is a variable part-time contract position. It can be as little or as much work as one wants, can be done alongside other commitments. So we would love folks from this network to consider that position and share it also with your networks. Kelly, it looks like in the chat I can only message you. So I'm going to send you the email address where folks can contact us. And Kelly, if I can send you those 2 job descriptions at the end of this call to go out with the notes, that would be much appreciated.
Yes. And so I just sent it to everyone, the email, and that assessor role sounds like a perfect fit for pretty much 90% of the people on this call. Great opportunity. Thanks, Anna. So everyone should see that email, and I will include it in the notes after. Thank you. Juliana, do you want to go next with updates from your base out at NREL?
Sure. So this one's pretty quick. We don't have a lot specific for the training community, except just a reminder that we are registering folks for the Weatherization Training Provider Summit in July. I know a bunch of folks on this call have registered, but definitely encourage your colleagues. We'd love to get multiple folks from different training providers attending, and I just sent Kelly the link to the registration. So if Kelly, if you could put that into the chat to everybody, I would appreciate that. The dates for that event are July 13th, 15th, and 20th, so non-consecutive days. and it'll be online and free. That's it.
Great. Do you want to remind everyone a little bit about what things you have in mind? Help
Sure.
whet their palates.
Yeah. So as far as content goes, it'll be a combination of discussion sessions to address some of the challenges that you all are facing. There will be some presentations from folks kind of getting a common foundation. We're going to be looking at potential future updates to the quality work plan and want to get everyone's ideas and thoughts of what that should look like. And then on the third day, it's going to be a deep dive into weatherization assistant and the updates that have been made to that platform and how to integrate that into training. So there's going to be a lot of different types of content. We want to make sure it's a space for folks to be able to engage and discuss the issues you're facing, as well as some of the new resources and new changes that might be that are going to be coming up.
Thanks, Juliana. Yeah, and I would echo that to anyone on this call, if you haven't already registered, this is really a great opportunity to make sure that DOE is hearing directly from you about what you're facing and have input on some, programmatic considerations and updates that are in the works. So I hope that you can find the time. Amy from CAP, after hearing those updates, do you have anything that you feel like is a good fit for this group? No pressure.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just a little discombobulated because I couldn't get into the WebEx, so I dialed in at the last minute. It was asking me for a password, and I don't think that happened last time.
Oh, sorry. It should, yeah. Well, we aren't looking at anything right yet. I'll send you a new link while you're talking if you have any updates.
Okay, so my update would be the Trainers Summit. I'm sorry, what's it called? Is it called the Training Summit?
Yeah, the Weatherization Training Providers Summit.
The Providers Summit. Providers is the word I was thinking of. We did promote that in the newsletter that went out last week. We're not getting as much of an open rate because it went out the day before the holiday. So I'm hoping to promote it again a little bit closer to time. And some of the things that you said just now, like that little bit level of greater detail, if you could email some of that to me, that might be good to insert into the next promo for us. Also, the first person that spoke on the position, please send me any job postings that you can think of, because I've been combing through our newsletter stats, and job postings always get a lot of clicks. And so I think that our readership is eager to look at job postings, and it's a good way to continue sort of stirring the pot and engaging the network. That's it for me.
Thanks, Amy. And I just, so I sent you the event password and link. Hopefully you can get in if you want for the main event. If you're interested, we will have slides, so that might be nice.
Yeah,
Anna,
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Anna, I saw you had one more item. Go ahead, and then I'll do mine, and then we'll hand it over to Katie.
Great, thank you, Kelly. I did forget one other item. IREC is very interested in hearing from anyone in the network who is familiar with any current apprenticeship models for weatherization installers, crew leaders, energy auditors, QCIs, etc. We are putting together some new kind of workforce solution strategies for a range of different organizations, and we would love to hear what is currently working out there in terms of on-the-job apprenticeship and on-the-job training. So again, if you can use that email that Kelly sent out, reach out to us if you have some good insight into that. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. I don't see Derek or Erica on the call today from DOE, but I do know that one of their newer POs, who several of us already know, Amy Quismeyer, she's been around in the network in a lot of different capacities, but is now at DOE. She is also interested, very interested in that, like a lot of us, Anna, and she started a tracking project that we're going to hear about next month on our call, where she's been reading the different workforce development projects and success stories and kind of like what's working and what's not, and has started kind of a catch-all to gather those stories so that DOE can help support the network by sharing lessons learned, what to do, what not to do, you know, what's worked and what not. So she might be a really good person to connect with also. But yeah, I think we're all really interested in that stuff. The workforce is going to be a huge issue. All right, so my updates before I hand it over to Amy. I like to always share the latest memos and updates. The latest one came out just about a week ago. The update to the WAP memorandum on weatherization assistance suite of tools. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of this. As training providers, you should probably always stay up to date. Does anyone, and we have Caleb who helped draft this on the call, so if anyone has any questions about this, now's a really good chance. You could just put them in the chat or the Q&A. Okay, I don't see anything. Then NASCAS sent me their updates to bring to you. They hosted the WAP Manager Orientation, their, I think, third or fourth conference that went all virtual. They are doing a really interesting thing this time where they're convening like follow-up coaching sessions with attendees. They only had 25 attendees, but I think that allows them to have the more personal follow-up with them. So I hope they'll keep us posted how that goes. They're hosting regional call webinars. Slides and recordings are available in the member portal. They have upcoming data management system RFP training, and I'm just going to plop all this stuff down in the notes. Let's see. Send this to everybody. They're going to be at the Trainers Summit talking about training needs analysis. Jonathan and I are working together with Lorjan, not Anna. I thought it was you, Anna, for a second. The NASCAS annual training conference, which takes place in September, has also gone virtual. I think the last in real life one was that one in Little Rock, Arkansas. A couple years ago, they've put out a call for proposals, which I'm also just going to drop in the chat. Please pass it along to your network, thinking about what would be helpful for the network to learn about legislative updates, because they advocate for us on the Hill. They've signed on to the letter of Hope for Homes legislation, and they have, Jonathan's met with a senator from Montana regarding that bill and its effect on workforce. So they're fighting the good fight for us on all fronts. Now, Katie, I'm going to hand the ball to you, and while I do, I'm also going to make Caleb, I'm going to make you the host so that I can take better notes. And while you get your files up, Katie, I'll just introduce, I think Katie will be a new person for most everyone on this call. She's a senior economist with the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, PNNL, and she's been there since 1998. Currently, she leads several of DOE's high R and on this call, low E, window and window attachment field validation programs. So she gets to do the cool sciencey science, and is helping lead and scoping the implementation of DOE's storm window and insulating window campaign. And she's here with us today to talk about what I think will be a really good opportunity for this network, especially in the face of potential ramp up, which is incorporating this really straightforward measure into our program. So with that, Katie, I will hand it over and mute myself. Welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kelly, and thanks to the Trainers Consortium for giving us this opportunity to talk to you about the Storm Window campaign that we are launching through DOE's Residential Buildings Integration Program. Just to check, can people see the presentation? Did that load?
Yep, it's there. It's good.
Okay, great. Thanks. I just want to recognize some of the campaign team partners who are also great resources for folks who work in weatherization. These include Tom Culp of Birch Point Consulting. You're going to hear me reference a lot of Tom's work leading field and modeling studies of low-E storm windows today. Tom is on vacation, so he's not on the call today, but he has presented at a number of weatherization conferences and is just a great resource for us. We also have on the call today Doug Anderson with EPA, who led the effort to get an Energy Star label for storm windows.
Stop yelling at me. What? I said, Bill, can you give me
Shannon Christie, who is a project manager with the Window Attachment Energy Rating Council, or AERC, which now has an energy rating for storm windows. I also see that we have David Bailey on the line, who is with Larson Manufacturing. So a lot of great resources here who could answer specific questions about the technology and programs if need be. So with these technology campaigns, DOE partners with public and private entities, and everyone works off a common platform to increase the awareness and market uptake of a given technology. These campaigns have been used pretty successfully over in the commercial building space. In particular, lighting campaigns have increased awareness and market uptake of various applications of LED lighting. For storm windows, the campaign builds off of previous DOE efforts stemming from some of the early R&D efforts related to the application of pyrolytic low emissivity or low E coatings on storm windows, which significantly improved performance. So this R&D was followed up with some field testing, pilot programs, and energy ratings, all of which have been pretty successful. However, there still appears to be limited market uptake of low-E storm windows. So this campaign is focused on reassessing what some of these persistent market barriers and trying to see if there's something that we can do as part of this technology campaign to address these barriers. And that's what brings me here to this webinar today. I'm going to be talking about both interior and exterior storm windows. For some people, the term storm windows refers only to an exterior attachment, where an interior attachment would be referred to as an interior window panel. Since storm windows have been around for a very long time, the term storm window, as you might expect, carries some baggage with it. So in an effort to be more updated, we have experimented with some other terms for this technology, such as secondary glazing or insulating panels, but this just seems to end up confusing everyone. So we always tend to circle back to using the term storm windows, and that's what I'm going to be using today. But I did want to make clear that I am talking about both interior and exterior attachments. So back to the topic of why the term storm windows might carry some baggage. One of the things we like to make clear from the get-go is that we are not advocating for anyone to install your grandmother's homely storm window panels, shown here on the left, which had to be installed or removed every season and had to be cleaned almost monthly. Storm windows have evolved through the years, and modern storm windows are designed to blend in with existing architecture. They are permanently mounted and are available as fixed and operable models, and also have improved performance with low-E coatings. Storm windows also offer a very straightforward installation for a home performance contractor. The trickiest part of installing them is getting the measurements right to ensure a proper fit over the existing window. As you are likely aware, storm windows are typically custom ordered, but there are some stock sizes available through big box and retailers such as Lowe's and Home Depot. For someone who's proficient with these tools and materials, this really is only about a 15 to 20 minute job per window. So this really could be an easy add to a weatherization contractor's toolkit of offerings. Of course, if the existing window is degraded or you are dealing with rot of any kind, this needs to first be addressed and may necessitate window replacement. But if the existing window is in decent condition and it just happens to be a single pane or clear glass window, then low E storm windows are an ideal way to improve the windows and air seal at a much lower cost than replacement. So just to review, low E storm windows improve window performance in 3 different ways. First, it provides air sealing of the primary window. You see on the right some of the case studies that show 10% reduction in air leakage of the entire home from the application of new storm windows. Next, a low E storm window creates a dead air space, which reduces conduction and convective heat losses across the prime window. And third, the low E glass reflects that radiant heat back into the home during the winter heating season. And for homes that are in the southern cooling dominated climate zones, there are storm windows available that have solar control coatings that reduce the solar heat gain coefficient of the window as well. Details on the specifications of Energy Star and AERC rated storm windows are all listed on the Energy Star and AERC websites, which are great resources available to anyone. All of the field tests described on the right are representative of homes that would likely fit into a weatherization assistant program. The original low E storm window field study was completed in partnership with HUD on 6 weatherization homes in Chicago in 2006. As shown here on the right, the application of low E windows over single pane windows in these HUD homes reduced the heating load by 21% and total home air leakage by 6 to 8%. One other impressive result from this field study is that the field study leads had an opportunity to go back to these 6 homes 10 years after the original installation, so around the 2016-17 timeframe. And what they did is they went back to see if the installation of these storm windows, if they were still installed and functioning as insulating panels. And what they found was that out of 100 windows observed, only one window there was just one window that was left in an open position during the winter, and one window that had a chip or crack in it. So that equates to about 98% persistence of energy savings for these storms over a 10-year period, which is pretty impressive. I point this out because we often find that utility weatherization program managers are resistant to storm windows as they believe that nobody will be keeping these on permanently, but that simply is not what we're seeing out in the field. Another finding that I haven't listed here, but that I think is important and interesting, is that when the Atlanta field study participants were asked to rate what they liked or disliked about storm windows, aesthetic improvement was the #1 quality listed. And I point that out because so often some of these weatherization measures are hidden insulating measures. So to have a measure that insulates, air seals, and is considered good looking, I think is a big plus for implementation. So just to recap what we think the value proposition for storm windows is for weatherization programs, I really think the combination of both air sealing and insulating in one measure is a plus. There are still so many low performing windows out there, and with the existence of affordable storm windows, I really don't think we can justify weatherizing a home that has single pane windows without at least putting an insulating attachment over that window. These windows are commonly sold through lumber yards and custom orders, but they can just as easily be purchased through big box retailers, which have a very wide distribution. Like any customizable product, prices vary, but low-E storm panels in most sizes can be purchased for less than $100 per unit. This combination of savings and low installation costs yields a savings to investment ratio over 1 for most regions in the US. And to expand a bit more on the SIR, when I'm defining SIR, I'm specifically using WAP guidance. Back in 2010, DOE led an effort to add low-E storm windows into the Pennsylvania's weatherization measure priority list, which demonstrated that by WAP criteria, low-E storm windows qualified as a priority measure for all homes with single pane or double pane metal frame windows. So Tom Culp expanded that analysis to 22 cities across 8 climate zones, where he found that storm windows qualify as priority weatherization measure in all heating dominated climate zones and most of the mixed and cooling dominated climate zones as well. And all these studies are available and accessible online. So here I'm showing an example of how the SIR results for storm windows rank in comparison to other measures in Pennsylvania. This modeling was completed by Tom Culp back in 2014. Since this time, the opportunity for lighting retrofits would likely be much less since LEDs now kind of dominate the market. But in general, storm windows rank just below demand water heater tank insulation in terms of SIR, but above attic insulation for Pennsylvania. And here are the results from Kansas City. You see the SIR changes a bit based on local fuel prices, but the order remains about the same, just moves down 1 step below AC tune-ups in Kansas City. And then here we have Boston results. Again, the rank order is similar, but now we have an SIR of 2.3 in Boston, where the fuel prices are quite high. This compares to an SIR of 1.9 in Pittsburgh and 1.5 in Kansas City. So just one final note on some new resources for homeowners and energy efficiency professionals. One of the early market barriers identified for storm windows was the fact that they didn't have an energy performance rating equivalent to an NFRC rating that is available for windows. To address this issue, DOE helped launch the Window Attachment Energy Rating Council, or AERC, which is an independent public interest organization whose mission is to rate, label, and certify the performance of window attachments so that they can provide accurate and credible information to consumers. As of 2020, AERC now has a cool climate energy performance rating and warm climate rating for storm windows, which provides an apples-to-apples numeric rating where higher numbers indicate improved energy performance. And I've provided an excerpt here from the database on the right, where you can look up all available storm panels with ratings and find out what the AERC rating is, as well as information on the U factor, solar heat gain coefficient, visual transmittance, and air leakage of a given product. And we are also very excited to say that the highest performing storm windows now come with an Energy Star label. In order to be an Energy Star rated product, the Energy Star program went through a process to determine that the storm windows provided substantial energy savings and that this energy performance could be measured and verified. They also determined that storm windows could be cost effective and the investment could be recouped in a reasonable amount of time. And I think the Energy Star label can help weatherization professionals communicate the value of the product to homeowners, since this brand can really provide consumers with some level of comfort knowing that they are getting top rated products in terms of energy efficiency. So, as you can see, we think storm windows are a good fit for weatherization programs, but we are still wrestling with what we should be doing as part of the campaign to increase the uptake of this measure in weatherization programs. So, and now I would really like to solicit some feedback on the topic and move toward a discussion format. Kelly, do you have some guidance on how to best conduct the discussion and solicit feedback from participants?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. That was a great presentation. I think that, Caleb, do you know, will they be able to unmute? Can people unmute themselves, or do we have to make them all into panelists to give them that level of control?
It seems to vary depending on how the webinar is set up. Maybe a few of our guests can try to unmute and see if they have any problems.
This
Yeah,
is
let
Mary.
us know.
Go
ahead, Mary.
I was able to unmute.
Okay. If anybody's having a problem unmuting, just shoot me a message and I can do it for you.
Exactly. And if you have a lot of background noise and you don't want to speak up, please feel free to drop a message in the chat. I think the chat's a little bit easier than Q&A, but either one, I'm keeping an eye on those. I see Amy English added a question in the chat.
I just unmuted. I was going to go ahead and ask it out loud because I thought that was your preference.
Yep, please do.
Because I joined late, I think I missed a few slides. I just wanted clarification. Is all of this data and these findings, are these stemming from some sort of formal pilot, or is this just a review of work that's been done under traditional weatherization?
These are all, they're a combination of field studies, mostly sponsored by Department of Energy, DOE.
Okay.
And some of them were done in combination with the Weatherization Assistance Program and with HUD. Others were, based out of just emerging technology out of DOE and Residential Building Integration Program, Building America. So kind of some different angles and sponsors, but primarily DOE funded.
Thank you for clarifying.
And Katie, some of it was done on like test houses, and then some is kind of in real life, like real world scenario, right?
That's right. So the two we had, some of the original work you go back to, like the MOWIT facility out of LBNL, which tests, out of the component level. They're looking at a very specific window. And then at PNNL, we have these experimental lab homes where we have two side-by-side homes where we use one as a control, one as experimental, and meter and monitor and simulate occupancy there, but it's a controlled environment. And then all the rest are done in the field in real life situations, both multifamily and single family homes.
So not seeing a lot of questions come in on the chat, but I'm really interested, all of you who are here today, please let me know in the chat, are you including low E storm windows in your weatherization program or any other program? Just send me something in the chat letting me know. I have no sense of how frequent this measure is, but I get the sense that it's pretty rare, if not, kind of unicorn in a lanyard rare.
Hey, Kelly, it's Michael. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, in Oregon, it is an allowable measure. We have it built into our program as a a qualified energy saving measure, but we rarely see it installed in the field. When we go out and look at weatherized units, we hardly ever run into those. One of the things I'm curious about is just like what's out there in the marketplace. Like I know Larson and maybe Kaufman and a few other manufacturers are out there, but this doesn't seem to be a very competitive space. I'm just wondering if are we seeing an increase in some of that, or I'm just kind of curious to see and know what's out there.
And just before the Larson rep or Katie jumps in, just to clarify, Michael, it's low E storm windows that you're talking about are allowable in Oregon, not just storm windows.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's low E specific, so it has to be an energy
Okay.
improvement there. Yes, thanks.
Okay, good. Because yeah, I think that the low E is kind of the game changer in terms of the SIRs that we saw from those case studies. But now I'll open it up to Katie or the Larson rep if you'd like to respond to the question about kind of what's out there, competitive.
Sure, I can start, and if David would like to chime in, that would be great as well. Larson Manufacturing is the kind of the, probably the only manufacturer out there that's exclusive there to storm windows, storm doors that has national distribution. But pretty much every window manufacturer out there, prime window manufacturer, can manufacture a storm window and will on a custom basis. It's just not necessarily where they're getting their highest margins, their profit margins. So there's not a lot of, motivation on their end to, up the number. In terms of low E, our leaders have been Larson Manufacturing and Quanta Technologies, which also exclusively manufactures low E storm panels, insulating panels. David, is there anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. This is David Bailey with Larson Manufacturing. Yeah, I would just add that there are a few low E storm window manufacturers listed on the AERC website. I think there are 2 or 3 now that have Energy Star certification. So it is competitive in that way. We probably are the largest with Larson because of our national distribution that we have. But some of the other folks out there would be more regional and certainly would be able to take care of a lot of the needs in the market. But it is competitive for sure.
So asking now specifically maybe to some of our more cold climate members on the call, Slipstream, looking at you, maybe Mary, looking through my list here to see there are a lot of northern ones. I'm really curious if anyone, if you aren't looking at low E storm windows, like why are you modeling them? I've heard that in some of the softwares, weatherization assistant specifically, it's a little bit clunky to go in and model the low E ones. I invited Katie here today because I thought you all would be really helpful in understanding, if this is a cost-effective measure in our network, what's that hurdle? Why aren't we doing it? And if we get a huge influx in funding, this seems like a really, compared to a lot of stuff we do, a really easy measure if it turns out to be cost-effective that we could have our contractors just kind of cranking out. So either speak up or drop me a line in the chat. Okay, so Wade in Utah said, as far as he knows, it was because the clients removed them and lose them, and that was before his time of coming. So I feel like that's a big deal. These, it sounds like, are quite different. They're kind of, I was talking with Katie and Doug and everyone last week to get my head around this. And when I bought my house, and it's 100 years old, and it had all these storm windows, and you're supposed to put them up every winter and take them down every summer and put in your window screens. And this is not that. Like, these are not your grandmother's storm windows.
That's
Do you want
right.
to speak to that a little bit, Katie?
Sure. These are meant to be permanent installations. So the exterior, is screwed on with caulk and have weep holes on the bottom to drain any potential buildup of condensation or moisture that might build up, and then they stay on there year round. And that's really, and the same with the interior attachments, year-round attachments. They operate as the primary window does. So if you have a slider, you put a slider over that, and then you can continue the operation. I think that some of the, storm windows of the past were all fixed, and so you'd want to take them off during the seasons that you wanted to open the windows and that type of thing. But now you can do that. They come with screens as well. And I think it's really important to emphasize that permanent year-round installation, because these not only save in the winter, but they save in the summer as well. And so, yeah, that is the modern design. And as I, mentioned with the Chicago field study, which had the modern windows, that is where they went back to kind of, we were specifically kind of addressing that issue of persistence and whether these got taken off or removed from the utility space, in particular in the Northwest, when we were going through the Regional Technical Forum RTF process. So we wanted to see whether these were indeed being kept on, and as we noted there, they were all 100% were kept in place, and there was just one that wasn't, that was left to crack open during the winter, which wouldn't be appropriate operation of the storm window, but it was everything. There were no storm windows that had been removed.
Thank you. So I thought maybe
Kelly, this is
somebody...
Robert.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
This is Robert from Slipstream on behalf for Wisconsin. I would say we're not doing storm windows of any kind in low E. The biggest concern that we probably have here in Wisconsin is that we're not going to hit the SIR with natural gas prices at historically low. We're getting 15 to 16% savings for the package of all weatherization completed in the houses. So I honestly don't see how you're going to get 20% savings just by doing storm windows, for one. So that's the biggest problem here. I don't think we're going to hit the SIR for natural gas. Possibility maybe for oil or propane.
Yeah, I'll just to comment further on that. I see that question came up with Montana, or somebody who worked in Montana as well, about the price of natural gas. Certainly when, the SIR, they are higher in areas with higher gas and electric rates, and anybody with resistance heat still in place, that those are going to be, have the higher SIRs as well as propane. But the SIR climate study that I discussed, that Tom Coke completed on the 22 cities, the fuels that were used were natural gas and electric resistance heat were both included as part of that. And I just wanted to mention that because that was a question that came up.
We got another question in the chat. James is asking, is the fundamental difference from triple stack storms the glazing film? So I'm not familiar with I know the triple track storms, but I don't know if that's a generic term or specific. So is it what you're talking about different because of the low E coating, or is triple track another term for what you're talking about?
Yeah, I would think the triple stack would be like the triple track, and that.
Yeah, sorry, I misread it the first time. It's triple track. I think I was reading up on some music history before this call, so I think about stacks.
Yeah, and those are kind of the aluminum frame. The primary difference is, yes, to answer that question, is the glazing, that low E glazing. But they have improved the seals and the aesthetics since the sort of those original triple tracks that you see quite a lot of out in the field. So those improved seals and improved glazing are probably the primary performance, provide the difference in performance between the triple track version and the modern storm window. I'm not sure if David or anyone else.
Yeah, I've got one thing to add, Katie, if that's okay.
Sure.
David Bailey again. Yeah, I would say one of the things that was a requirement with Energy Star, which is what a lot of the low E storm windows that would be qualified for any kind of programs that we've been a part of, the Energy Star certified storm windows do have an air sealing measure. So in order to do that, we, for one manufacturer, had to tighten up our windows a little bit. One of our series, at least, we had to tighten up enough to be qualified for Energy Star. So they are tighter, as you said. There's a better seal, and then the glazing is a big difference from going from clear glass to low E glass. Certainly has a big impact there.
Great, thank you. We have another question. Juliana's asking, have there been any publications about the results? And I know you mentioned them, and I have one from our earlier talks. If there are any links, would you be able to just put them in the chat for people to access, and I could add them to our notes?
Sure, I have a big old list, and so
okay.
Yeah, I might need to follow up with an email that maybe you could send out to participants. But yeah, I definitely have all the links and the many studies set up there, all available online.
Great. And then Michael brings up an excellent point. So I don't know if you know, Katie, but in our program, we often run into historic preservation requirements when it comes to modifying the homes that we're working with. And he says most of the low E storm windows installed in the program were projects done in historic districts, so there are often hurdles to prime window installations. And I think that's a really good angle maybe for you and your campaign, thinking about where it goes in the future is maybe you wouldn't be able to do a primary window replacement, but you could do an interior low E storm window without triggering that historic stuff.
That's a great point, and certainly an angle that we're keeping our eye on, those interior attachments. Here, I'll put back up on the presentation. You see the best version of Larson's now is their comfort seal and interior attachment, which then would provide that be a great application for a historic preservation. Also, that interior attachment is a great application for multifamily, and anybody that's participating with multifamily homes, especially multi-story multifamily homes. You can order, they'll all have pretty similar windows. You can order these in a big batch and have this interior attachment, so no need for exterior scaffolding, a very low cost, relatively low cost installation.
So anyone else on the call willing to just share, if you aren't modeling this option, why not, or what's stopping you? David Heppenstall, I see you're on the call. I don't know if you're logged in, or Kristen Willman, you're both in kind of cold climates, or Kirk in New Hampshire. Do you all have any insights to share? Like, do you know, first off, no shame, do you know if people are modeling low E storm windows? And if not, do you know why? Is it just a basic lack of awareness, or is it that you don't have that, it's not available? I know that one of my colleagues checked, he's in New Mexico, and they they didn't have them locally available, but I checked mine up here in Maine, and I could get them at Home Depot if I needed.
Am I unmuted?
Yep, I can hear you, David.
Yeah. I don't think we've taken it seriously as an option for a variety of reasons. I certainly would. I think in terms of the cost effectiveness in meeting the SIR is an issue, but I certainly am interested in following up and seeing, are there situations in which it could be cost effective?
Hi, Kelly. This is Chris in Indiana. We are not currently modeling low E storm windows, but after this presentation, I definitely want to get some local cost and try running it through and see what the SIR looks like. We occasionally will do interior storms on mobile homes, but that's maybe 10 mobile homes a year. So yeah, it's definitely something that I think that, we'll look into from the training center side.
I think there's an awful lot of things about the windows that we're facing in New York City where it's really the quality of the old window installation and that is a concern, and I'm not sure whether the storm windows would overcome that, but certainly worth looking at. We've also been looking at much higher performance passive house grade windows and cost effectiveness, assessing that as an option. But utilities are also interested in lower cost options. So do you have any utility programs that have taken this on?
Yeah, there are some successful programs that have run some pilots. We now have in the BPA in the north, in the Regional Technical Forum, we've gone through the process and demonstrated that low E storm windows are qualified as a measure in their equivalent of their TRM in the Northwest, and that's in Idaho, Montana, Washington, and Oregon for their electric utilities. But we again have seen limited market uptake, and I think there's an assortment of reasons. It kind of went on as a weatherization measure. There wasn't a lot of awareness from the contractors, and so we're kind of addressing that. Where we've seen pretty successful programs is Efficiency Vermont ran a pilot, and so did Focus on Energy Wisconsin, where they put it was a retail measure where they basically put it out to consumers and offered a rebate, an instant rebate for the low E version of storm windows. Larson participated in both of these pilots, and they saw during this pilot phase an increase in sales of over 300% in low E for storm windows in these regions by basically offering that instant rebate and also some added advertising. David, I'm not sure if there's anything you wanted to,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd be glad to. Yeah, I think the fact that there was that much more demand when there was an incentive attached to it speaks to the fact that people are willing to listen and willing to try this technology. And yeah, storm windows as a technology is an old technology, but the storm windows that are available today, as Katie talked about not being your grandmother's storm window, they really are different. And that's part of, I think, the challenge is just overcoming what people think in their mind a storm window is, and it's really not that at all for most folks. So saw a lot of success with both of those pilots with Vermont several years ago and Wisconsin just a couple years ago. It's been very effective there. Also, while I've got the floor real quick, I just want to go back and for the person from, I think it was Indiana, that talked about using interior storms with mobile homes. That is a great option for mobile homes. There's not a surface on the exterior to do an exterior storm, so that's why it tends to go to the interior. But it improves a lot. You got a ton of airspace on the inside that helps, and then adding the storm window with the low E coating is very helpful with that. So just thought while I had a second, I'd throw another comment on top of that. And I guess also historic is a key area for us. A lot of historic areas don't want you replacing an old window. They want to leave it in place because of the look and feel. And adding a storm window typically is approved, interior or exterior, and provides a great solution for that.
This is Chris in Indiana. Could you speak a little to the cost difference between the low E storms versus the standard interior storms for manufactured homes?
Yeah.
Before you jump into that, David, I just want to, this is Kelly, I just want to let everyone know, I understand that we're at the bottom of the hour, and if you have to drop off, that's totally fine. This will be recorded, so if we go a little bit over, you will get the missed content in your recording. And so just want to let people know it's okay if you have to leave. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So going from clear glass to low E, there obviously is an upcharge. It's a more expensive process with the glass to do that. And it's really going to vary by manufacturer and by retailer. It's probably going to be, I'm going to throw out a number just because you asked and try to figure it in there. Probably less than 15% premium to go from clear to low E in most cases. Maybe more with some manufacturers and some dealers. It may be a little less with others. So probably somewhere in that range.
Here's another question. There's been some back and forth going on in the chat that I think is pretty interesting. I know when we talked in preparation for this call, I don't know who is the one to take this, if it's Doug or Katie or David, but we talked about, one of the things that makes this measure kind of alluring to a program like us is you avoid the whole lead paint issue that you would if you were replacing the window, but it was pointed out very accurately that usually when so a lot of our program implementers, they braid funds. So they have funds from DOE WAP, they have funds from LIHEAP, they might have funds from HUD or USDA, rural renewal type things. So they're having to coordinate all these different things. And HUD is a big one that helps with lead remediation. And they always want to, as Caleb reminded me, they want those windows just gone out of there, not to just cover them up. So I'm curious if you've had any experience with other federal programs like HUD or anyone else that our implementers might be braiding funding with, and if you have any tips about that.
I don't, I know that there was the early field studies with HUD done in combination with HUD and with the Weatherization Assistance Program. I'm not sure if Doug Anderson is still on the line, and if you have any experience or knowledge in particular of that, the lead paint issue.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. Yeah, this is Doug Anderson from EPA. I don't have any particular insight on this, and the point is well taken that some programs just want to get the whole window out of there. However, this could be a good solution for, especially if it's an interior panel, covering up that would reduce the lead chips and dust that might be coming from that particular panel. Perhaps the folks from Larson may know of some cases where they've had to deal with lead paint issues there. But I don't have any particular additional advice on that. But it's an interesting problem or an interesting dilemma.
This is David Bailey from Larson. The only piece I would add to what's been said already is that for our understanding is adding a storm window is going to be less disruptive and will cause fewer issues with the lead paint issue. And so many times there's not additional requirements when you add a storm window to preserve that. So that's probably the only piece I can add. I don't know of any other funding things, but certainly we do hear that it's easier to add storm windows than to take out and do a lot of other work on primary windows.
David, that's an excellent point, and that did come up in our earlier conversation, our prep conversation, and that is that you may not have. Normally, when you're going to do lead paint, there's going to be disruption. You may have to have the family not be present during the day, or set things up and put up barriers around where you're going to be removing a window. And so this is very little disruption. Basically, you're putting caulk and you're just drilling little screw holes, and that's it. So you had very little disruption of the occupants of that particular residential location. And so that could be an advantage there.
Yep.
So one last comment, and then I'll probably call it for today. And Katie, maybe you can let me know if this is included in any of the reports that you'll be forwarding that I can include in the notes. Chris said, I would really love to see the details of the NEAT runs completed in the pilot, and wondering if people were able to achieve an SIR of 1 or greater on windows other than metal. So will the details of the NEAT run be included in some of those files that you forward? And do you know the answer about the metal window question?
Yes, they do. There's a combination of different primary windows and prototype homes, and they are use both the NEAT and the ResFin model, and all of that is included in the appendices of some of these reports. So I will include that. There was also Tom Culp pulled together one of the potential, challenges with integrating storm windows into a weatherization program is just the challenge of getting it into the NEAT. I guess it is, you can pull it in there, but it's maybe a little bit clunky, a little bit it's not the default option, and to get the low E version in there. So I know Tom has, in some previous training, pulled together sort of a how-to. It might be a bit dated. I know we might be able to, I think Jason DeGraw is on the line here, and we might be able to get an updated version of those slides that kind of show how you get the NEAT or the low E storm windows into a given NEAT run. So that might be a benefit to this crowd.
Indeed, yeah. I think that I see your other question, Chris, about low E storms and innovation grants. I'm not feeling qualified to answer that right yet. I think probably, but I will double check with Erica and Derek, people who've been around the innovation grants a couple more rounds than I have before I answer.
I think they're.
But yes, and Michael, to your question, sorry about triple track. Yeah, I think that is, it's 2 operational panes plus a screen, so everything stays in place year round. That's right, Katie?
Yes, that's the idea with the triple track.
Right. And then the low E is above and beyond that. Like you could have triple track, non-low E, but we want low E for this conversation. So I know, thank you for so many of you for staying over time. Thank you to our presenters. Katie, it sounded like you might want to have a final parting word for the group?
I just thought, Kelly, I'll try to work with you. There's several questions. We could, if those are collected, I can work with you and make sure all those, we get answers to all those various questions in case they weren't answered during the talk.
Yeah, definitely. And to whoever's still on the line, and I'll put this in the notes, I think that I'd like to hear a little more about if you're not doing this, why not? Because I do think that, you know, if the modeling bears it out with your energy prices and installation costs wherever you are, I think this could be a great addition to your kind of your arsenal if we end up having a cajillions of dollars to spend. And, you know, we've been talking about the workforce issues and other things forever, and this seems like a really easy way to be serving people, and it doesn't take a ton of training. So it might be good. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I will talk to you trainers next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks.
And you've got the host back, Kelly, so you'll have to stop the recording.
I know. I'm trying to figure out how to stop recording. Okay, here we go.